Welcome back to Joe's Toolbox Exchange. Today we're going to be reviewing another cart. This is going to be a Matco MSC5. This box is not made in the United States. These boxes are manufactured overseas, I believe in Taiwan. That is the same for all MSC carts by Matco. If it has a JSC like the one behind it, they are going to be made in Jamestown. They're a USA box. The MSC acronym is going to be a foreign-made box. Not to say it's not a quality box. I still think it's definitely good. The price on it is pretty high. These boxes list price is $3,600. In the past, we've talked about Snap-on boxes. Their percent of resale on the carts is usually around 50% of list price. Matco's not quite the same. On the MSC, we usually see closer to 30% to 35%. So this box will probably sell around $1,200 to $1,300. It is in good condition. There's a couple of spots, but overall, it presents very well. I have some complaints about these carts. Overall, though, I think it's kind of a unique box. Snap-on does not make anything like this. I would also not like this to get confused with the MSC-X. The MSC-X is what Matco came out with, I believe, last year. I haven't even seen one in person yet. That's going to be their sidekick carts. They're pretty cool. It's basically the same cart, same idea, only it has that full-length aluminum trim on the top, which you're more familiar with on the JSC Matco carts. And also it has some other features like a rubber bumper along with like these modular slots in the side that can fit tools and accessories on the sides. You know, a lot of guys will hang like air hoses and stuff off them. It's pretty cool. This does not have those features. It does have a similar power bank though. Dimensionally, I believe it's also very similar to the MSC5X. Also, another box I would like to mention here is the Cornwell. Cornwell also makes a box that is extremely similar to this, eerily similar to this. The only difference is the power drawer is going to be on the left side instead of the right. And also, it has that aluminum trim all the way across the top. That is going to be on all Cornwell carts for the most part. And those list about the same at $3,700. The MSC5X is also $3,700. This is $100 cheaper. It is still offered on Matco's website and on the trucks. I just don't think it'll be for long. I have a feeling this box will be obsoleted with the MSC5X taking its place with $100 more. I think it's a better box overall. There's quite a few additional features you get for $100, so I would definitely not purchase one of these new. For the used market though, at $1,200, $1,300, I think it's definitely a large box. It's bigger than, you know, what Harbor Freight has for a cart being 32 inches. This box is 48, so it's quite a bit larger. You also get this cool large power drawer on the side. I'm not a huge fan of the detents on these boxes. They do wear out over time, and these aluminum trim pieces are a pretty thin material, so you'll often see nicking and damaging on these drawers. The drawers have a detent mechanism that is non-adjustable, so it's not like the dials that you're going to find on, you know, Mac boxes or Matco boxes that are full size, or the Jamestown carts being the JSC series carts. They have a dial on them, but they look like this. They're basically the same idea on all boxes. This is going to be your tensioner. You can replace the slide when this goes bad. On these though, it's built into the back of the drawer. So when you open the drawer up, you'll feel it's tensioned and then it releases, and then when you shut it, it re-engages. It's not the best. I'm not a huge fan of that mechanism. It is actually in the back of the drawer, unlike the dial where it's in the front. You can't really set them. My favorite is obviously going to be a lift latch system, which you're going to find on Cornwell boxes on the higher end and Snap-on on the very high end. But the slides work, I think. The slide latches, the lock and roll as Snap-on calls them, I think that's a fine design. And the dials I also think are a fine design. But you're like, that's a maximizer cart. It also has the dials. The dials are very common. But with the detents on the inside, I'm not a huge fan. They do wear out, and also you can't adjust it. So if you have something really light in here like screwdrivers, it takes quite a bit of force to open it. So when it does that, all your stuff slides around, and you have to shut it with quite a bit of force. All your stuff slides around. Their mats honestly suck. They're like a foam. It's not going to be like a Snap-on or any other brand mat that's like a cloth material. It's just foam. These wear out. They actually don't wear out quite as bad as like a Tech Series liner, Max liners, or Matco's fabric liners. They wear out really bad. The issue with these is they just don't really stay. They kind of slide around. They don't grip your tools at all. The top of this box has been replaced with some almost like carpet material that is better than that, but the same issue is going to exist. You know, this stuff is very slick. It just doesn't hold quite as well as other boxes. And on a cart, that's really important because you move it around a lot. So if you move this across the shop and then you get there and open it up, everything's all slopped around. It is a little bit annoying. What I do like about this cart though is the dimensions. It's a flip top, it's pretty large, it's cool. They have a large charging platform over here, although the lid shuts just above it, so it's not very deep. This is primarily for like laptops and scanners, maybe your phone, other diagnostic equipment, flashlights, little thin things like that fit great up here, but like your chargers are not going to work. You could route your chargers over here, but once again, this top compartment is still very shallow. I think it's like 4.5 inches. Some say that's plenty, but it's 4.5 inches, and then on the right side you're at like 2 inches. So just really shallow on the right and really shallow in the top. By standards, you know, Snap-on, we looked at this one previously, you got 11, and in the Mac you have 8, and then, you know, in a Jamestown I think it's 7. So this is just a very small top compartment, but you gain that storage back with the drawers. So, you know, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drawers. They're a decent size. They're all the exact same size. Actually, these are a little bit skinnier, and then they get bigger down here. These 3 look the same. Those 3 are skinnier. They are almost full extension. They're not quite there. That's kind of common for a lot of boxes. Even some Snap-on boxes are not quite full extension. And I could not find the weight rating on the slides. I don't know. They probably feel, my guess would be 100 pounds. I don't think they're more than 100. If they're more than 100, it's by a small amount. They're definitely not as heavy as a Snap-on 120. The 120 over here feels a bit more. I'm going to say they're 100 or 110, but that data is not online. Matco does promote their drawer weight ratings on their heavier boxes, but on their lighter ones, they fail to mention that. And I think it's because it is a little bit lighter duty. You cannot double slide the drawers. Not even the bottom one can be double slid, so you're stuck at that weight rating, but they're pretty small, so you're really not going to probably overload it. I mean, you're talking 29.5 by 22, and the drawers are shallow, so you're at like 3 inches. And we'll mention the bottom ones while we're here. The bottom ones are 5, and that's going to be the same. This one's 4, so I guess it goes 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. That's the drawer depths, and then the widths and the from front to back is going to be the same. The wheels are okay on it. It's the same as all boxes, pretty much. They have the locking lever. It's not a great design, but the box does roll well. The handle on it is actually very good. I like it way more than what you're going to find on the 4S's or the 2S's. Their handles are like this on the Jamestown cart. This is a very cheap handle. It's just spot welded in here and it breaks all the time. This handle is extremely robust. I could easily pick the box up from it. If I did it with the JSC cart, it would break the handle. So I don't know why they use a better handle on these carts than they do on their American-made line. It just feels overall better, especially in the winter when you're pushing these outside. These handles are extremely cold. They suck to move, but the rubber's a better material. They have these screwdriver slots on the bottom, but it does not go through to the top. So anything you put over there is not going to be locked. And on the other side, they have them in the top and it goes all the way down. So you could have long screwdrivers or anything like that, and you could lock them, or alternatively small screwdrivers on top and then unlocked smaller ones on the side. It does have 2 power cords. The power cords, we'll show that at the end, are both on top of each other. Kind of a cool feature because they're both 15 amps. So I guess you could have 15 amps on the top and you could have 15 amps inside the power drawer. We'll show the power drawer now. It's pretty neat. It's a decent design. I think it's not the most ergonomic. Down here is your chargers. And then they have cutouts in the back, back in that corner and in that corner for your power cords to route up. So if you wanted to, you could have your chargers on this shelf. It's just a little bit hard to get to them and you cannot fit the large Milwaukees. But on the bottom, you could easily fit your chargers here. There's just not a lot of footprint for chargers. I mean, if your charger's gonna stick here, your batteries are right here, it's kind of hard to get them in and out. And then overall, I think they have 16 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm counting 14. I thought it was 16. I was wrong. And then the impacts in there fit fine. Like there's a Milwaukee over here. I'm not exactly sure. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just not the best. It's a cool idea, just functionality. It's a bit sloppy. I guess if you didn't have your batteries on your tools, they could fit in there just like that, which is fine, but you're really only going to be able to obviously utilize one side of the cups, and then this side is definitely better. They fit in there quite well, Now here's a snap-on large 1/2-inch impact for reference. I mean, it does fit in there fine. They just kind of slop around, especially when you move it. And then the bottom ones are really hard to use. They tuck up way underneath here, and that's what they look like. I wish this design, it works better. I wish it was on the top. They're at like a kiltered angle, and they actually do stay in there pretty well. But they're just way down there. I guess it's a small complaint, but if you put your tools down there, you're really forced to use this for your chargers. And then if you use this for your chargers, you can't really utilize these because they're gonna sit down and bang into your batteries. It is a good idea. Like I said, in practice, it doesn't really work the best. It also has rails that are in here somewhere. These metal rails, they go in between those slots at the top to try to prevent some of that slop, but they fit between there, and they go there and there and there and there. There's 3 of them. It's fine. It's just a little bit cheap. They do line them in like a fake pleather material to try to prevent wear on that metal, which is fine. It's just, it is a cheap cart, I guess. It's crazy to say a $3,700 cart feels cheap, but I guess by standards, if you're looking at, you know, a Snap-on, it's less than $2,500, and it doesn't really feel cheap. This cart kind of does feel cheap, and it costs, you know, quite a bit more. It weighs a lot though. This box weighs more than you'd expect. It weighs 375 pounds. That's a lot for a cart of this size, so there definitely is steel in here. I do not know their steel gauge. To me, it feels like 16. There's probably 18 on the drawer fronts, but it feels like 16 in the structure. I could be wrong. Once again, they do not advertise that. The dimensions of it, I think we mentioned from side to side, but it's kind of cool because it's a little bit deeper than some carts like that Snap-on over there. It's going to be 20. This box is 24 from the front to back. It's a good size. And then from edge to edge, it's going to be 48. And then when you have the lid shut from the floor to the top, it is going to be 40.5 inches, right between 40 and 41. The bumpers are plastic on this model. On the X model, though, they are going to be rubber. The top is just thin. To be honest, they should have a structural piece across these like they do in the JSC series. If I can unlock this cart. I complain about the JSC all the time, and that's why it never wants to unlock correctly. If I can even get it. There it goes. I guess they don't support theirs either here, but you have a lot of extra material in here, and like in the Snap-on, you're going to see the support here. In the Mac, you're going to see the support here. This is kind of necessary on a cart. I would say it's probably not on the JSC carts just because the top has an extra piece of stainless on it, so it is pretty robust. Maybe it's not necessary, but on here, I mean, if you put something heavy, it's definitely going to fold this lid. I guess just don't put anything heavy on it. You got normal wear on the top. They always look like this. The struts are good. They're pretty far back out of the way. I don't really have complaints about that. The walls are kind of high on the screwdriver slots, but it's okay. And also this, they do this, you're gonna show this, this annoys me. I understand why it exists, it's to fit the long pry bars, but this area is always filthy. It's just hard to keep clean. There's a lot of sharp edges in there, and stuff always does fall down in there. You got like zip ties and stuff get jammed in here all the time. And to clean this out is just a pain. Snap-on does not do that. Snap-ons are always just flush. It's a better design, but I understand why they do. It's because the top compartment is so shallow. If the top compartment wasn't as shallow, they wouldn't have to have that design, but they're trying to gain the square inches, or cubic inches rather, back in the bottom. Speaking of the cubic inches, it's 26,000 cubic inches, so it is a lot of storage space. All of it is lockable. There's 26,000, like 50, I think it's just barely over 26,000. The box weighs 375 pounds, so that is decent. The weight rating for the box they do advertise, that's going to be the weight you can store of tools, and that's 700 pounds. It's a little bit light, but also, I mean, if the drawers are like 100, I mean, you're gonna max it out pretty quick. And this is what I was talking about some other boxes in other videos. The weight rating isn't that really important. You're at 2,400 pounds. You're not gonna overweight this box, 2,400 pounds, even if the box weighs 400. Getting 2,000 pounds in here would be hard, but it's going to be easy to put 700 pounds of tools in here. I mean, even if you just had 50 in each drawer, you're at 100, 200, 300. Your impacts and everything probably another 100, so you're at 400 just right there. And that's if you only have 50 pounds in each drawer. You know, some Snap-on socket sets, they weigh like 15 pounds. I guess this is the same for all brands. Impact sockets are just heavy. So, you know, if you have 5 sets in each drawer, you're overweighting the drawer or getting very close to it. And then if you do that to every drawer, the box is over the weight rating. On the back of the box, that's where your 2 power outlets are. They do not serialize the MSC carts. They do not come with a warranty. Unlike the Matco products, unlike Snap-on, Snap-on's very across the board lifetime on their boxes and carts. Matco is not really the same. It varies heavily on the model that you're buying. So on a Matco 5S, a 6S, a 4S, or a Revel, they have a lifetime warranty. On the JSC carts, the USA made, come out of Jamestown, these boxes have a 3-year warranty. These carts have almost no warranty. I think it's like a 90-day for defect factory warranty. So this isn't like the warranties on the other box. This is a warranty like if something's wrong with the box, they'll get you a new box. That's kind of what that's implying. It's not really, and it's actually a factory warranty. It's not a Matco warranty. So Matco essentially has an agreement with the factory in Taiwan that is repping these or manufacturing these boxes. And if you get the box and there's a problem, then they're going to get reimbursed by the factory for it, and you are going to get, in theory, a brand new box. Where if you have a problem with like a JSC cart, you're going to get a new set of slides or a new drawer, new struts. They're going to service the life, you know, for the 3 years. On a 6S, it's for forever, but you're going to get those components forever. These are not really like that. So it's a little bit misleading. I think it's hard. I don't think Matco really offers that information up as readily as they should. If you're buying one of these boxes used, look at it, because you're not going to be able to get parts for it very easy. At least with the JSC cart, if it's out of warranty, those parts are still available, so you can get slides for it. If you have one of these carts go bad, it's a little bit harder to get service parts. Your dealer can probably track them down, but it's not as simple as something like a 6S. So if you're buying one used, make sure everything works on it, make sure the wheels work on it, make sure the locking mechanism works. The locking mechanism is less important because it is just going to be a paddle lock. It's very simple. They have a factory serial number on the inside of it here. This is not really the same thing as Matco serial numbers on their other boxes. This is kind of just an internal part number. That's really all it does. And then right here is your locking bar, and it does lock pretty decent. It's a little bit cheap feeling, but it locks the right drawer also. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to mention. Like I said, I don't know if these boxes are worth $3,700. They're definitely not. I don't get them very often, so I think you guys kind of agree. I can tell what people think are worth the money because of the amount of them. You know, we do not have that many Cornwell dealers in the United States. Well, in the world, we don't have that many Cornwell dealers. They're a relatively small company by tool truck standards, but there are certain boxes we get a lot, like the Pro Series. We get a lot of Pro Series, so people liked those boxes and they purchased them. Matco is a huge company, and you don't see very many of these carts. We see 4Ss. We just sold a 4S yesterday. There's a 2S here. The 2Ss are pretty common. The 4Ss are very, very common. The new style, not so much, but the old style was, I mean, probably, I would say definitely in the running for the top 3 most common boxes here would be the old style 4S double banks. But these we've only had a few times. So I just don't think that many people are forking out $3,600. Also, Matco operates on an extremely small profit margin for their dealers on carts. So unlike some of the bigger boxes, they have a lot of room to negotiate. On the carts, they are razor thin, so there is not a lot of room for them to really give you a great deal. You're not going to get one of these for half off on a truck, for example, where I have heard of this with 6Ss, and with the new 4Ss, you know, I've heard of people coming in and telling me, you know, their dealer is offering one at 50% off or 45% off, but on these carts, it's almost always list, and the dealers very rarely stock them on the truck for that reason. They don't have a lot of money in these. They will make more money selling a 4S at a discount than they will selling one of these at list. And I think that contributes to the reason they just are not as common. Although at $1,200, I would say this is a box I would work out of. You know, it's substantially better than that Tech Series right there, and that Tech Series is more money. So I think for the price, it's a decent box. They don't offer a top mat for it. The handle is only on one side, so you can't change it. Also with that comes the fact that you cannot accessorize it very easy, because that's how most boxes are accessorized, is by using those handle mounting holes to add things like side cabs, or slot dot panels or shelves or things like this. I don't know how you would even add a shelf to this box without drilling into it. On every other box, this is not a problem, but on the MSC carts specifically, it is. They sell an MSC cart that is just this exact box without the power cab. It's essentially this right here, and those are more common than this, but they're also several $1,000s. I think they're actually not quite that bad. I think they're like $1,800 off the top of my head. I don't know why this one costs double that, because of that power drawer on the side and the power outlets in the top. I will say I also like the wheels more on this box than the USA made counterpart, being the JSC series. The JSC series are like a rubber and they clunk when they roll. These are more similar to a snap-on wheel, very similar to a snap-on wheel. They're rubber. It just rolls a lot easier. It's very quiet when it moves and it doesn't jostle as much. Where if you see, like, you know, this is a JSC. It's just a clunky box to move. The MSCs do not have that problem. I like the rubber wheels a lot more, and I wish they utilized that on their JSC carts. So there has been talk of these boxes coming back to United States manufacturing. I was really, really hoping that when they released the X series, the MSC5X, we were going to see that produced out of Jamestown along with their other series boxes. But there has been no further discussion of that, so it looks like these will continue to be made in Taiwan. And actually, dealers have a smaller margin on boxes coming from Taiwan than they do in the US. And especially right now with the global tariffs and things, these boxes are probably not going to get any cheaper. I thought that that might kind of push Matco to move production to the United States, being because of all the tariff situation, and they already have the facilities to manufacture boxes of an extremely similar model. Why they wouldn't have just brought the MSC5X here is a little bit beyond me. $3,700 is a ton of money. I feel like they definitely had room to manufacture that here and still sell it at a comparable price. And I say $3,700. That's the MSC5X. This is $3,600. So they went up $100, but still, I mean, the Jamestown carts are around the exact same price, and they're a better build quality. Although I have tons of complaints with these carts, they are a better build quality overall. These are like mini tanks. This box doesn't really feel it, even though it has such a high overall weight. I don't really know how it still feels cheap at the same time. You think, you know, a borderline 400 pounds, the thing would be able to hold 2,000 pounds. That's just not the case. How does it weigh less than a snap-on cart and have a lower weight rating? I'm not quite sure. The wheels feel heavier than what's on a JSC cart. How does it have a lower weight rating than this? I'm not really quite sure. I feel like for a fractional cost, they could have overall made this box a lot better, which I know is what they tried to do with the MSC5X. And I have heard people talk positively about them, so maybe that those carts, when I see them in person, I will not have the same complaints. But even little things like the keys on it are not going to be what you'd find on a Matco USA box. This is what you're going to find in a JSC cart. They have a little American flag on them. They're pretty cool. They're ergonomic. They are not, their old keys were like a hexagon. I don't think I have one in here. But this is what comes in a MSC cart. They're just very cheap Taiwan little lock cylinders. I don't think they could have made them any cheaper. It's little things like that. I think when you see them in comparison, you can tell that the quality's not there, but the price is kind of the same. So overall, I don't want to say it's a bad product, but I personally would put my money elsewhere if I was considering a new one. But if you guys are shopping around, you can find these things in okay condition for like 800 bucks. So I think at 800 bucks, if it's like used but everything still works, it's probably a good buy. You're not getting the warranty, but still at 800 bucks, I mean, Harbor Freight, you're $500-600 on a 32 inch. It's like, I don't know, is it worth spending an extra couple $100? At the end of the day, they're both coming out of Asia. I would probably buy this used over a Harbor Freight cart of a similar price. I like that. I don't know. I like that. I guess I don't want to say I like that it says Matco, but it is cooler because it does say Matco. Maybe that's a bit of brand bias, but it is definitely a more respectable box. I wish I had more positive things to say about it, being that I generally like Matco's products. It's just, once again, it's with their carts. It's the MSC series. This box, if it didn't have the power drawer, is like very pathetic. I really do not like those. They feel worse than the US General boxes. The drawers are not as good as a US General cart. I do like the slide latch in the US General more, but this is something you can't get somewhere else. You know, you can't get a box like this from anywhere but Cornwell, and Matco, and it's going to be the same either way you go. I'd probably go Cornwell over this though, because I like that the aluminum trim on the top, and I think overall the Cornwell box is slightly better. Although I haven't done enough research on that to say they come out of the same factory, but when we've had them side by side, like the positioning of the welds, like how many rivets are used to hold down the lid, the rivets themselves, things like this are identical. So I wouldn't be surprised if at least the same engineers did not design both boxes, but maybe I'm completely wrong. They are both made in Taiwan, I think. Although these could be in China also now. I know Taiwan and China have had the contract both. I think right now this box is Taiwan though. I think that goes over everything I wanted to say. I do appreciate you guys watching once again. It's been a crazy busy week. We had that white Epic that was here in the last video. I think that video was yesterday. The white Epic is gone. We had a blue 5S that was sitting here. That is gone. We had a Matco 4S that was sitting there. That box is gone. Yesterday was pretty busy. I think our inventory is pretty low. So we'll definitely have some new boxes coming in this week, hopefully. I think we might have a Cornwell coming in, an Arca coming in. We've had them a few times. We've never done a video on one. The Arcas are pretty cool. The Platinum we've looked at for Cornwell, but we haven't looked at an Arca, and I think we have one coming in this week, along with another Matco JSC 773. This is a 770. I think the 773 is coming in tomorrow. Once again, I don't like it, but you guys continue to buy them, and as long as you guys continue to buy them, we will continue to buy them. So I think that's kind of the truth for a lot of boxes. It's, it's amazing. Even when people come, I can tell them I don't really like this box that much. Maybe you should just spend the same amount of money and get a Snap-on, but they'll still leave with it. So at the end of the day, most people do not care about my opinions, and they already have their preconditioned notions of what they want. And if they want a Matco because they love Matco, this is probably the cheapest Matco cart you're going to find for this size. This box behind it is very rough. This will probably sell very rough. This box will sell for $700, I would guess, maybe $600, and there's probably even room on the $600. It might even go as low as $500, just because it isn't pretty. Once again, though, I think things are priced accordingly. $500 is a pretty cheap box. It's Harbor Freight prices for a USA-made box. So I do think that wraps up everything that I wanted to say. So hopefully we may get another couple videos out this week looking at some other boxes. We still haven't done a review of our box, and we have a ton of tools that I need to get out here. We've just been pretty slammed between both jobs. So I appreciate you guys watching, and until the next one, thank you.